Good afternoon, good evening, everybody, whatever it is for you. I nearly missed today's stream. I'm out there walking the dogs, and the missus is like, "Come on, old man," trying to wind me up or something by insinuating that I'm old. And I'm like, "Why?" She's like, "You got a stream." I'm like, "What are you on about? Got a stream?" It's like, "Yeah, it's Tuesday, 4:20 news." I'm like, "Oh, completely forgot. This is still a new thing, so it's not like in my schedule, my mental schedule of things that have to be done." So I nearly missed it. And I've had to come back, and I had like 20 minutes, maybe even 15, to find an article, make the thumbnail, get the description done, get it up on YouTube and all of that. So I think I did pretty well by just getting it all done so quick, Gosh, that was tense for a second there. But anyway, I'm here for the 420 News, episode 6, and we've got to briefly talk about this cannabis addiction thing that it's kind of been in the news this week. We discussed it on Sunday with one of the news articles there, and then I've seen another one which was kind of related to it as well. And the title of this article from The Independent is "More People Are Addicted to Marijuana," so already suggesting that cannabis is addictive. But, we're going to discuss whether it is or not in just a little bit. But it also carries on. But fewer of them are seeking help, experts say. So, yeah, more and more people are getting addicted to cannabis, allegedly, and less of them are seeking help for alleged addiction. You know what I mean? So that's what we're going to be talking about. But first, just saying hello to everybody in the chat. We have Cornerstone drop by. Terpopotamus has landed. John Lewis is here. What's up, bro? Collective Marijuana. Well, I haven't seen your name before. Welcome to the stream. One More Quarter. You also a new name. Welcome to the stream. Thanks for joining us. YouTube did something with people's usernames this week. Oh, and Pig. Yeah, I see you there, Pig. It's because I think because there's a swear word in your name there. It's not coming up on top chat. I'll change that to live chat so I can see you. There we go. Now I can see you. What's up, Pig? Yeah, so thanks for joining me, everybody. Hit the like, subscribe, and all that. And I think we should get stuck in on the news here then and see what's going on. Okay, yeah, they added numbers in lots of people's names. They just, instead of using your username on YouTube, they're using people's handles instead. And if you don't have one, then your name isn't popping up as it's supposed to. So there is a way to change it. It's reasonably easy. We did discuss it on the live stream last week. So, on Sunday. So just check that out if you want to know how to change your username and stuff. For fuck's sake. Sorry for my language there. But yeah, things are going wrong because I'm rushing. You know what I mean? There was Jerry Garcia in a little bag. You know what I mean? Good episode. Good movie. Anyway, let's go on with this. More people are addicted to marijuana, but fewer of them are seeking help, experts say. Cannabis use amongst young adults has reached historic levels, with nearly 18 million Americans using marijuana daily in 2022. That was 3 years ago. I mean, a lot's changed in 3 years. How many states have legalized in 3 years? I'm sure there's millions more people using cannabis now than there were in 2022. But I don't know, that's just an assumption, I suppose. We can't just go assuming that. Yeah, let's carry on with the article. Megan Feller smoked pot several times a day and couldn't eat, sleep, or function without it. But at the time, she didn't see the need to reach out for help. In quotation marks here. "I didn't think cannabis was a big deal," the 24-year-old said. "It was really socially accepted." Jesus, where are you living? Because it isn't socially accepted for many of us. Even people out there who have legal cannabis still suffer stigma for using it. So it's not really socially accepted as far as I've seen. But anyway, if it is for you, good for you. This attitude is common as more states legalize marijuana. Use has become more normalized and products have become more potent, but fewer of those who are addicted seek help for it. Pot use amongst adults reached historic levels in recent years, according to a federally supported survey. And, federally supported surveys, they've never lied to us before, have they? They always tell us the truth, don't they? Thank you, government, for keeping us all safe and well informed. Daily use even outpaced daily drinking, with nearly 18 million Americans reporting in 2022 that they use marijuana every day, or nearly every day, up from less than 1 million 3 decades ago. Allegedly, and you have to remember with studies like this, 3 decades ago, it was still highly illegal. I mean, 3 decades ago was the 90s. Was it still 10 for 2 in Las Vegas then? Like, you get 10 years for possession of 2 joints. Those laws existed, and there was still loads of stigma. So when they say people, that there's so many more people using it now, it's like, no, it's just so many more people can say that they're using it now without suffering consequences for it. You know what I mean? So it's not necessarily that there's more people using it now. It's just that they're allowed to say so. They don't have to hide it. If anybody asks me if I use cannabis, I'll be like, no, what is cannabis? You know what I'm saying? It just all depends on the laws, you know. Studies show a corresponding increase in cannabis use disorder, allegedly, when people crave marijuana and spend lots of time using it, even though it causes problems at home, school, work, or in relationships. It's a condition that researchers estimate affects about 3 in 10 pot users and can be mild, moderate, or severe. Wow, okay. And its addiction, despite the common misconception that that's not possible with marijuana, says Dr. Smita Das, an addiction psychiatrist at Stanford University. And we covered this lady's studies in the episode on Sunday as well, because we discussed this. And I also put a poll up in the YouTube for people to comment on, is cannabis addictive, yes or no? And it was 40% of the listeners thought yes, and 60% thought no. Very interesting. Meanwhile, the drug's widespread acceptance has fueled a stigma about seeking treatment, and Dr. Jennifer Exo of the Hazelden Betty Ford Foundation in Minnesota, there's this persuasive belief that you can't become addictive. It can't actually be a problem, she said. It has to do with this myth that cannabis is safe, natural, and benign. I don't know whether that's a myth. It's kind of a myth. It depends on what perspective you look at it. Because cannabis is natural. That's not a myth, is it? And it is safe. I mean, it depends what context you use it in, but you can't really OD on it and die, right? So, I don't know. Safe, it depends on what you want to call safe, doesn't it? It depends on the criteria. And then benign, I don't know about. They just use these crazy words, which shouldn't really be related to cannabis. Strong weed, bigger problems. Random sentence there, you see that? Strong weed, bigger problems. While pot isn't as harmful as harder drugs, I can agree. Frequent or heavy use has been linked to problems with learning, memory, and attention, as well as chronic nausea, vomiting, and lung problems among those who smoke it. Some evidence has also linked it to earlier onset of psychosis in people with genetic risk factors for psychotic disorders like schizophrenia. Allegedly, have you noticed as well when they have these studies, if something comes up like, oh, there's a slight link here that it might increase psychosis, tell everybody about it. But when there's shitloads of evidence to say this helps with epilepsy and intractable epilepsy in children, nah. We need more studies. Oh, but it helps with Parkinson's. Oh, don't want to just jump to conclusions now. We need more studies. But a little bit of a hint that it might cause schizophrenia or trigger it in some way, and they're all fucking over it. Everybody needs to know about it. Have you all noticed that, or is it just me? Anyway, and today's pot is not the same as that of the past. Many people recall older relatives who smoked a few doobies and ate some food and fell asleep, Exo said. But it's absolutely different. How is it absolutely different? How? It's just you point out to the extreme cases instead of just the majority of people who just enjoy a couple of joints, eat some snacks and fall asleep just like you've suggested. But you go out there and you look for the bad shit. In the 1960s, most people smoked cannabis less than 5% THC, the ingredients that cause the high. Today, the THC potency in cannabis flower and concentrates, so you see how they label that there, and concentrates, because if you go look at cannabis concentrates back in the 1960s, it would have been the same percentages, but I digress. Cannabis flower and concentrates sold in dispensaries can reach 40% or more. Of course it can. They're concentrates. You know what I mean? Now, we can say that the flower gets high, like 25% compared to what it used to be. Sure, we can say that. But concentrates are supposed to be concentrated versions of cannabis and THC. You know, so it's got to reach 40% or higher because it's a concentrated version. It's in the name. Gosh. Teens are often vaping potent marijuana concentrate, Exo said, rather than eating brownies made with cannabis flower or taking a hit from a bong. More access to marijuana, rising ER visits. I suppose that's supposed to be a title, but they haven't put it as a title. Pot is also increasingly available, of course, it's legalized, but at least people have to show ID to get it now. Though it's still a federal crime to possess it, 24 states allow recreational use by adults and 40 allow medical use as of late June. The National Conference of State Legislatures said dispensaries abound and more people are able to keep pot at home. Research links to legislation and recreational marijuana with rising emergency room visits for acute cannabis intoxication, in which patients may experience rapid heartbeat or feel dizzy, confused, or paranoid. But when people drink too much alcohol and start going into alcohol poisoning, they are very ill and they need to have their stomach pumped. But that's completely fucking legal. Nobody's talking about that, are they? Jesus, I'm preaching to the choir. I won't go on. A study last year focused on Michigan found that legislation was associated with an immediate increase in the rate of ER visits for this condition amongst people of all ages, especially middle-aged adults. Das said increased access to cannabis along with a growing number of cannabis products with high potency all contributed to rising ER visits. And again, and I hate to just keep saying the same thing. Now, I'm sure the ER visits have gone up. But this, again, is because it's legal now. You know what I mean? If your friends consume too much cannabis, they're kind of unconscious and not looking well. 20 years ago, you would have been like, oh, just leave him on the sofa, give him some orange juice, he's going to be all right. Because you don't want to take him to the ER because he's going to be arrested and prosecuted, maybe end up with a felony charge, and it'll ruin his fucking life. You know what I mean? But now they can because it's not illegal. It's because it's legal. More people are willing to come out and say that they've used it or OD'd on it or whatever you want to call it. You know what I mean? So there's more things that need to be taken into consideration before they come up with conclusions like this. Then suddenly they're suffering from cannabis toxicity, she said. Fella first tried pot at 16 and quickly went for smoking the plant to using vape cartridges that were hidden in her pocket. Soon, she could barely get by without it. And here we go again, started using pot at 16? Legally? Really? Who's giving the kid? Unless it was for medicinal use. She's using it at 16. It's way too young, right? In the USA, it would be 21. I would wake up every morning for years, and until I smoked weed, I would throw up. That's weird. She said, yeah, that's really strange. You really should see a doctor about that, Instead of trying to get high, she used it to make these symptoms go away. So it was medicinal use, and it worked for her. Because she's not just using it to get high, is she? It's not recreational use. She's using it to stop herself from being sick. That's medicinal. Surely that's completely different. It's not just a case of somebody enjoying it because they want to fucking get high, Anyway. Fella was also drinking a lot, and her parents sent her to treatment center when she was around 18. So drinking and smoking, there's other things. They're just putting cannabis in here for no reason. They're just assuming that it's the cannabis that's the problem, not the underage drinking. Fuck. It didn't help because she wasn't ready to get well. After her mother died, her substance abuse worsened. And you can understand that. It's going to be tough for a young person to suffer a loss like that and not go to substance abuse, unfortunately. At 22, Fella entered Hazelstone on her own. That must be the treatment clinic. But only to get sober from alcohol, which she did. She kept using pot on and off, then finally sought treatment for cannabis use disorder and has been sober from marijuana for almost a year. I'm so much happier now, she said. I don't feel like shackled to a substance. And I used to feel that way when because I would say that I had cannabis use disorder at some point in my life, and I just consumed a ridiculous amount of cannabis for many, many, many years. And I feel better now, because I still consume cannabis. I vaporize it now, and I use considerably less. But I get much higher now than I did when I was consuming a quarter a day. You know what I mean? So it does make a difference when you're and I used to leave the house and it would be a few hours, 3-4 hours. It's like, better be getting back soon so I can go and smoke a joint, and that I wouldn't say ran my life, but it was a big part of it. So I do think cannabis use disorder is an actual thing, and it's easy to overlook it. Such treatment is often overlooked, like this person, like I just said here, said Brian Graves, and a researcher at the Florida Atlantic University. There's a little bit more of this left. Let's spam through it. Let's get it done. He and his colleagues published a study this year showing that the share of people who got treatment for cannabis use disorder from their nationally representative sample dropped from 19% in 2003 to 13% in 2019. An earlier study, and I hate to keep jumping off on tangents, but again, This would be because in 2003 it was illegal for many people, and people found with it would be prosecuted. Like they'll go to the police station, oh, you have to go on one of these courses to make sure that you know that drugs are bad and cannabis is the devil. You know what I mean? But now, if somebody's found with cannabis, they're not held by those same rules. In 2019, they're not held by the same rules. They're not going to be forced to go on some addiction program because they've been found with cannabis. So that's also going to drop the numbers. But these things are never taken into consideration. As long as they can grasp a little bit of information to spam their narrative and make it look like they ain't bullshitting us, they'll clutch at those straws, man. You know they will. You all know. Anyway, an earlier study found a marked decline and pointed to reasons that include expanding cannabis legislation and more tolerant attitudes. Experts said people need to be educated that pot, like alcohol, can be misused and can cause real harm. Yes, but nowhere near to the same extent, bro. You know what I mean? The alcohol, if you drink too much alcohol, you go grab a couple bottles of vodka, drink that shit in one evening, you might not get up the next day. Get 2 ounces of weed, try smoking all that in an evening. You can try as hard as you like. It doesn't matter how ill you're going to get. It's not going to give you the same kind of effect that alcohol is. You know, it's not going to kill you like alcohol could potentially. It's ridiculous how they're held to a different standard like that. Well, do they try and hold them to the same standard when they are not the same thing? You know what I mean? Another important piece is helping people understand the risk before they start, EXO said, and then to feel safe enough to say, hey, I need help managing this. Many people wait until their marijuana use causes problems in multiple parts of their life before they seek treatment, if they ever do. Isn't that the same for every other substance as well? It's not just cannabis, is it? If you are changing your life because of weed, there might be an issue, fella added. There are resources to get help, and you are not alone. The Associated Press Health and Science Department received support from Howard Hughes Medical Institute's Department of Science Education and the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation. The AP is solely responsible for all content. Whatever that means. So, anyway, what do you all think, huh? What do you all think? Cannabis addictive? Are you addicted to cannabis? I think cannabis use disorder is definitely a thing. I think cannabis is mildly addictive. Not like crack, heroin, or even as bad as sugar and coffee. There is definitely some habit forming parts to it. I think if you use a lot of cannabis for a long period of time, then it does become habit forming and is slightly addictive. That's my opinion. What do you guys think? What's all this talk in the chat? People talking about Ladder with Crowder. Yes, it's good that you're watching that channel. I like that channel. BRB to this chat. Where you going? Stop going in between channels. Gosh. But addictive nonetheless. Yeah, I don't know where. Let's see what you said before that, if I can find it. I don't know. But yeah, I do think cannabis is somewhat addictive. And you know, not to everybody as well. Some people have more addictive personalities than others. You know what I mean? Some people can get easily addicted to things. Some people find it more difficult to get addicted to things, not as if they're trying. But I do think, from my own personal experience, that cannabis has some kind of addictive properties to it. And I'll hear people running a cannabis forum and having a cannabis podcast and being a cannabis consumer for as long as I have been. I know lots of people who consume large amounts of cannabis, and they would, at the same time as saying cannabis is not addictive, would also say if they was to go a day without cannabis, they wouldn't be able to eat, they wouldn't be able to sleep, they'll have sweats, they'll be irritable, and these are all detrimental things that you don't want to be feeling because of the lack of cannabis. So, you know, so in my mind, that means that it's addictive, that you're having withdrawal symptoms from it because your body is craving it, hence addictive, right? I'm not saying that it's crazy. I'm not saying that you're going to be climbing the fucking walls and shit. Some people might be, it depends. But for those people who do consume a lot of cannabis and think that cannabis isn't addictive, take 3 days off and then come back and tell me, do you think that it's addictive or not? Of course, if you're a medical user, different story. That's your medicine. You need to, you know, keep up with your medicinal dose, so don't be fucking around with that. But if you're just a recreational user of cannabis, take 3 days off. It's like my brother, he consumes way more cannabis than he can afford to assume. You know, and he's always in the red. You know, he never got enough money to pay for it, but he always want more. Why is that? If it wasn't addictive, I mean, maybe it's just because he enjoys it so much, but he should be able to say, oh, I enjoy it a lot, but I can't afford it this month, so I'm going to have to pull back on the amount I use. but he doesn't do that because it's addictive. So that's just my opinion. Of course, this isn't scientific evidence or anything like that. But in my mind, in my experience, I would say that cannabis is definitely mildly addictive. What's this one? Is this? I can't see who that's from because it's Wome1. Okay, welcome to this show. And Laszlo's there. Shout out to Laszlo, Hawaii, Etsus. I want to read this one from him. Definitely all about addictive personalities. I've been at it for nearly 50 years, but I'm having a few days off due to dry eye issues. No biggie. If I couldn't have tea, I'd really lose my shit. You know what I'm saying? Completely agree, mate. It definitely depends on the person. Some people will have real difficulty. When I was addicted to cannabis, or when I had cannabis use disorder, and I also smoked spliffs then, so it was tobacco mixed with the joint, so that also played part in it as well. I'm not forgetting that aspect of it. But if I was to go for a day without cannabis, I wouldn't be able to sleep, and I'd still be smoking tobacco on its own. So just cutting out the cannabis, and yeah, fucking couldn't sleep, sweating. You know, very irritable, couldn't eat properly. So it definitely made a difference to my life. But recently we did this Sober October thing. So I stopped using weed, alcohol, coffee, and sugar. And the coffee was worse than any cannabis withdrawal that I'd ever had. You know what I mean? And same with the sugar. The reduction in sugar was so fucking difficult. Much more difficult than cannabis. You know what I mean? So there's definitely more addictive substances than what cannabis is. But I'm not saying it's zero addictive. You know what I mean? There's definitely addictive parts to it, in my opinion. But anyway, as I say, that's just my opinion. I want to know what you guys think in the chat and in the comments. I'm sure we can have a nice, rational conversation about it. Do you think cannabis is addictive? And if so, explain why, you know, and let's have a discussion about it. And if you don't think it's addictive, explain why. Because it's good for everybody to just talk about these kind of things and understand where we're all coming from, you know, and what our kind of experiences are. Yeah, you don't really need an occasion. Just do a 30-day challenge anytime. Indeed. Just give it a shot. Just try it. Yeah, 30 days without alcohol, no problem. Yeah. And the same. It's like I enjoy these things, but I'm definitely not addicted to them. But going without tea and coffee for a whole month was difficult. And I don't even drink coffee now. It was so bad the Sober October with me cutting out coffee. The addiction was so bad, the withdrawal was so bad, but I haven't touched coffee since. I don't want to go through that again. I've been drinking tea because I'm an Englishman and I fucking love tea, but yeah, I'm not drinking coffee, man. I had a sip of the missus's coffee yesterday for the first time, just a sip, just to try and remember what I was missing out of, and it was fucking disgusting, man. It's two sugars in it. It tasted like shit. It's like, oh my god, no, fuck that. Oh god, it was so bad. So yeah, I don't drink coffee anymore. But man, love a nice hot cup of tea with no sugar in it. I used to have one sugar in it, but now I have no sugar in my tea because the sugar's fucked as well. All you need to do is take a month off this shit to realize that, oh damn, this is more of a problem than I realized. But anyway, look at me. For you guys who have listened to the show before, you know I can chat for fucking hours about anything really, so I better get out of here because I've got other things to do. But thanks for joining me. I hope you enjoyed the episode here. If you're around later on or you're a patron, I'm going to have a little session there with Free Nugs. We're going to talk about cannabis and mental health, so if you're around, look out in the VIP sections for the links there, and I'll catch you then later on. That'll be cool. But for now, enjoy the rest of your evening, and remember, drop some comments down below. Let us know what you think. I appreciate you guys tuning in, and I'll catch you on Thursday for the next one. Stay high, stay safe, and I'll see you then.